In this video, I will show you how to improve your relationships with one rule. I can 100% guarantee it because I have actually used it. I would even go further and say I would bet anything on this rule. I say that because I know it works. I used it with my family, my friends, and even co-workers, and it works like magic. So if you are serious about improving your relationships, use it and thank me later once you see results. This rule is the first rule in this fantastic book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Your relationships before this book will be one thing, and after it they will be something entirely different. And the reason this book isn't just any book is because before Dale Carnegie wrote this book, he spent 20 years teaching these principles in real life. He began teaching courses on human relations and effective communication. But here's what made his approach special. He didn't just lecture, he required his students to practice these principles on their families and friends, and then report back the following week with their results. And then after 2 decades of teaching, he decided to compile these proven principles into a book, including real stories from his students. It's so enjoyable, so practical. Honestly, the first book anyone who wants to succeed in life should read. I am actually so excited to share these lessons with you. I am beyond excited. So whether you choose to read the book yourself or not, I will be explaining it to you in detail, cover to cover. But here's what I suggest. Let's follow Dale Carnegie's original teaching method. I will break down one principle per video, and then I want you to go apply it and tell me what happened to your relationships in the comments below. That way you will get the full value of the book, exactly as if you were attending Dale Carnegie's course yourself. So without any further delay, let's dive into the first principle. Carnegie opens the first chapter with a saying: if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. Basically, if you want love, cooperation, and respect, don't destroy the source. And the fastest way to destroy any connection is criticism. Carnegie illustrates this principle with some powerful stories. In 1931, police trapped a criminal called Two Gun Crowley, and this guy was one of the most dangerous criminals in American history. He killed without hesitation. But listen to what he wrote while bleeding out. Under my coat is a wary heart, but a kind one that would do nobody any harm. Can you imagine? This man just killed a cop for just asking to see his driving license, but still saw himself as a victim. He refused to believe he was wrong. Similarly, Al Capone, the notorious gangster, he never considered himself a bad person. He said, I have spent the best years of my life giving people the lighter pleasures, and all I get is abuse, the existence of a hunted man. Carnegie's point here is this: if criminals don't blame themselves for their actions and instead rationalize their behavior, what about ordinary people like your partner, friends, kids, colleagues or coworkers. It's 100% true. The moment you start criticizing someone, they immediately stop listening. Their brains starts to work really hard to find reasons and excuses to justify themselves rather than accepting blame. Their natural response is defensive, not acceptance. So if you want anyone to acknowledge something they did wrong, don't criticize them. This is the first rule when dealing with people. Don't ever criticize. Ever, ever, ever. Even if they ask you for your opinion, avoid blame or criticism. Now, I hear you thinking, okay, I agree with the principle, but surely there are situations where criticism is necessary, right? No, it is not. And there is also no such thing as constructive criticism. And the right question that we should be asking ourselves is not how to criticize, but how to help people improve. That's why in the next video, I will teach you the only way to make anybody do anything or stop doing anything and help them improve without criticism. And the reason I am leaving it to the next video is that I don't want your brain to connect it to criticism in any way. But before we finish, here's my challenge to you. Commit to zero criticism until the next video. Not a single word of criticism, condemnation, or complaint. I know it's harder than it sounds, but I want you, when you feel the urge to criticize someone, stop and tell yourself that it will not work. It will just not lead to any results. It will not change the other person bad behavior. So don't kick over the beehive. Don't destroy the source. Then come back to the video and share your experience in the comments below. And in the next video, I promise I will tell you what to do exactly. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed preparing this video. If you found value in this breakdown, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Take care, everyone. Cheers. Is there a way to get anybody to do anything? And I mean anything. Dale Carnegie, in How to Win Friends and Influence People, says yes, there is a way. And today I am going to break this down for you in simple, quick, and easily remembered steps. So the next time you want someone to do something, use this powerful method. Dale Carnegie says the only way to get anyone to do anything is by giving them what they want. So step 1, give them what they want. But you might be thinking, how do I know what they want? What if I can't give it to them? Here is the secret. I will tell you what everyone wants. Everyone? Yes, everyone. Both Sigmund Freud and the American philosopher John Dewey agreed that everyone wants to feel important. It's universal. The feeling of importance is what every person craves. So now we know 2 critical steps. Step 1, to get anything from anybody, you need to give them what they want. Step 2, what they want is to feel important. So now, how do you make someone feel important? By giving them honest and sincere appreciation. And listen carefully. Honest and sincere. This is crucial. If it is sincere, it's appreciation and it will work. If it is insincere, it's flattery, which will backfire. Honest appreciation comes from the heart. Flattery is selfish and people can sense the difference. So don't use flattery at all because first, flattery doesn't work on intelligent people. Second, it might temporarily work with someone desperate for recognition, but in the long term, it will make you more harm than good. So now we know 3 steps. Step 1, to get anything from anyone, you need to give them what they want. What everyone wants is to feel important. Make them feel important through honest and sincere appreciation. Great. The person feels important. Now, how do you get what you want? And this is through step number 4. Transform criticism into future advice. What does that mean? Okay, take this example. Instead of saying to your kid or your friend, "Oh, your grades in physics and chemistry are good, but your grades in math are bad. You need to work hard next semester." Instead of this, say that, "Wow, your grades in physics and chemistry are good, and I am 100% sure next semester your math grades will also be good." Do you see the difference? So instead of criticizing what happened in the past, offer advice for the future. But be careful here. If you give appreciation only to start criticizing, that is still criticism and will not work. It might actually create the opposite effect of what you want. Okay, so let's repeat all the steps again before moving to the final step. Step 1, give them what they want. Step 2, what they want is to feel important. Step 3, make them feel important through honest and sincere appreciation. Step 4, transform criticism into future advice. Okay, the final step. Never, ever connect your appreciation and advice with the word but. That single word can erase all the goodwill you have built. All appreciation you give will be gone if you used but after them. So never, ever use but after giving appreciation. These 5 steps will get anyone to give you anything you want. So let me share a perfect example from later in the book to show you how these steps work in real life. One of Dale Carnegie's students was a landlord. His tenant gave notice that he was vacating immediately, despite having 4 months left on his lease. This landlord explained, "These people had lived in my house all winter, the most expensive part of the year, and I know it would be impossible to rent the apartment again before fall." Normally, he would have confronted the tenant aggressively about the lease terms and threatened legal action, but instead he decided to try these 5 steps. He wrote a letter to the tenant saying, "I have listened to your story and I still don't believe you intend to move. Years in the renting business have taught me something about human nature, and I sized you up as being a man of your word. In fact, I am so sure of it that I am willing to take a gamble. Here is my proposition. Think over your decision for a few days, and if you come back to me before the 1st of the month when your rent is due and still intend to move, I give you my word, I will accept your decision as final. But I believe you are a man of your word who will honor your contract. When the new month came around, the tenant paid his rent in person. He and his wife had talked it over and decided to stay. They concluded that the honorable thing to do was to live up to their lease. At the end, he got what he wants. Now, let me finish with something truly inspiring. The story of Charles Schwab. Schwab was one of the first people to earn over $1 million a year as a salary back in 1921. Just imagine what that would be worth today if you put it into an inflation calculator. When asked why he earned such an incredible salary, he didn't mention his technical knowledge. Instead, Schwab said, "I never criticize anyone. I believe in giving people incentive to work. So I am anxious to praise, but reluctant to find fault. If I like anything, I am hearty in my approbation and lavish in my praise." That is what made Schwab successful. But what do most people do? The exact opposite. If they don't like something, they immediately criticize. If they do like something, they say nothing. So remember, don't criticize. And if you want to know why criticism never works, watch this video, and from now on, use these 5 powerful steps to get anyone to do anything you want. Give them what they want. What they want is to feel important. Make them feel important through sincere appreciation. Transform criticism into future advice. And the last one, never connect appreciation and advice with but. Thank you very much for your precious time. I really hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed creating it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and take care everyone. Cheers. What if I told you that someone decides whether they like you in the first 20 seconds, and there is almost nothing you can do to change their mind after that? And that is why today I'm going to show you 2 science-proven methods that can make anyone like you instantly. Let's dive in. In the year 2000, researchers recorded 59 real job interviews. Each one lasted 20 minutes. But here's where it gets crazy. They showed complete strangers just the first 20 seconds. No sound, just video of the candidates walking in and sitting down. These strangers had to guess who would get hired. They were scary accurate. Those 20-second snap judgments predicted exactly what the actual interviewers decided after 20 full minutes. But here is the part that will blow your mind. A research paper published in 2010 showed that even when people realize their first impression was wrong, their brain doesn't really change its mind. The lead author of that paper Professor Carnegie explained it simply by saying, imagine you meet a new co-worker and think they are kind of rude. A few weeks later, you see them at a party and realize they are actually super nice. Your brain will remember they are nice, but only at parties. Everywhere else, still rude. That's insane. So first impression stick forever. Unless you see someone being awesome in every possible situation, your brain defaults to that first impression. Which brings us to method number 1. Dale Carnegie figured this out almost 90 years ago. And his solution is very simple. Smile. That's it. Just smile. I know it sounds too easy, but listen to this. Professor James McConnell, a psychologist at the University of Michigan, expressed his feelings about a smile by saying, people who smile tend to manage, teach, and sell more effectively. And they also raise happier children. But what if I don't feel like smiling? Force it. I am serious. You can whistle your favorite song or watch that one video that always makes you laugh. Keep it saved on your phone. Because here's the thing. If you want people to be happy to see you, you need to be happy to see them first. So make a good first impression by smiling. The New York Telephone Company analyzed 500 phone calls to find the most used word. And I will let you guess what it was. No, I. People say I 3,900 times every 500 phone calls. Simple test. When you see a group photo you are in, who do you look for first? Myself. Exactly. People are obsessed with themselves. So if you want them to like you, become genuinely interested in them. And it starts with the sweetest sound in any language to a person, their own name. Most people forget names, but Franklin Roosevelt remembered the names of every person who worked with him. One day, an engineer delivered a custom car to the White House, and Roosevelt not only remembered his name, but also remembered the shy mechanic who barely spoke. Before they left, Roosevelt found that mechanic, shook his hand, called him by name, and thanked him personally. But how do I remember names if I am terrible at it? Use Napoleon's trick. If you don't hear it clearly, say, sorry, I didn't catch the name. If it is unusual, ask how it's spelled. Then repeat it during the conversation. When you are alone, write it down. Stare at it. Then tear up the paper. So the first step to become genuinely interested in other people is to remember their names. Then use your listening superpower to understand what they are interested in. Dale Carnegie went to a dinner party and met a botanist. For hours, he just listened to this guy talk about plants. At midnight, the botanist told everyone Dale Carnegie was the most stimulating and interesting conversationalist he had ever met. But Dale Carnegie barely said anything. That's the point. The botanist felt heard. And according to Harvard's former president, Professor Charles Eliot, exclusive attention to someone speaking is the highest compliment you can pay. And listen carefully to this quick family story. A mom always stopped what she was doing when her son wanted to talk to her. Then one day he said, "Mom, I know you love me because whenever I want to talk, you listen." Kids don't lie about this stuff. Roosevelt had another trick. Before meeting anyone, he would stay up all night reading about their interests. That seemed like a lot of work. Agree. But that one night might save you 4 whole years. Henry Devernoy from Devernoy and Sons tried for 4 years to sell bread to a hotel. 4 years of weekly visits, going to all events, even living in the hotel. Nothing worked. Then he studied the manager for one night. He found out that the manager was president of Hotel Greeters of America. Next morning, Henry visited the hotel. He mentioned the Greeters organization. The manager was so excited and talked about his organization for 30 minutes. He signed Henry up as a member. A few days later, the hotel called to order bread. Okay, what if I'm meeting someone on the spot? Easy. Find something you honestly admire about them. So here's your complete roadmap to make anyone like you. Nail the first impression. Smile, even if you have to force it. Remember, actions speak louder than words. And a smile says, "I like you. You make me happy." And method 2, become genuinely interested in others. Remember and use their names. Listen more than you talk. Find their interests and talk about those. Give genuine compliments. Try these for 1 week and watch what happens. And if this helped you, hit that like button and I will see you in the next video. Take care everyone. Cheers. There is one simple technique that could get you that pay rise, close that business deal, or win any argument. The secret of Socrates. Hi everyone. Today we are diving into what might be the most powerful skill you can develop, the art of persuasion. So whether you are trying to convince your boss of a promotion, negotiate with investors, or even just get that car mechanic to fix their mistake properly, this technique works. Now, Dale Carnegie wrote about 12 different ways to win people to your way of thinking in his classic book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But here's the thing, I'm only going to share one of them with you today because this one technique is so incredibly effective that I have never needed to use the other 11. And I'm not exaggerating here. I have used this method countless times and it works. I have taught it to friends, colleagues, even family members, and they come back to me amazed at how well it works. In fact, drop a comment below after you try this and let me know your results. I bet you will be shocked at how effective it is. But before we get into the technique, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in an argument where you know you were right, but the other person just wouldn't agree with you? Maybe you have all the facts and the logic, but they kept saying no, no, no. Here's what most people don't understand about human psychology. Once someone says no to you, their entire body and mind literally shift into rejection mode. Professor Overstreet explained it perfectly. When someone says no, their pride kicks in. They feel like they have to stay consistent with that position, even if they realize later they were wrong. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself defending a position just because you have already taken a stand? Even when you start having doubts, this isn't just some old school sales trick, by the way. When I was putting this video together, I wanted to see if there were scientific evidence or maybe a recent scientific experiment to back up this method. And I found a ton of it. I found out that this principle even has a name. It's called the foot in the door technique. Take this study, for example. They looked at how agreeing to a small request influences compliance with a larger one. What they found was fascinating. Participants who first agreed to a minor task were significantly more likely to agree to a subsequent, much larger request compared to those who were only given the large request. It clearly shows that those initial small agreements literally pave the way for bigger ones. So here's how it works. Instead of starting with what you disagree about, begin by finding things you both agree on. Get the other person saying yes 2 or 3 times before you even mention your main request. When someone says yes, their whole body language changes. They lean forward. They become more up, more receptive. It's like you are programming their brain to be in agreement mode. But when they say no, everything shuts down. They cross their arms, lean back, and their nervous system literally prepares for battle. Now, Dale Carnegie again gives a perfect example. Someone called Eddie Snow wanted to rent a bow. The first shop said they don't rent. So he called another shop. The owner could have just said the same thing. But instead, he said, I am sorry, we don't rent bows anymore because we cannot afford to. But can I ask you, have you rented bows before? And Eddie said yes, several years ago. That's the first yes. And this man said, you probably paid around $25 to $30 for the rental, right? And Eddie again said yes. That's the second yes. Then the guy asked, are you someone who likes to save money? Eddie said yes. And who's going to say no to that? That is the third yes. Then he explained, we have complete bow sets on sale for just $35. You could buy a whole set for just $5 more than renting. That's why we stopped renting. Doesn't that make sense? And Eddie said yes and bought the set, picked up several other items, and became a regular customer. All because the shop owner got him saying yes first. Now, here's why Dale Carnegie called this the secret of Socrates. This great philosopher completely changed how humans think about everything. But here's what is fascinating. Socrates never told people they were wrong, never lectured them, never argued. Instead, he asked questions that people had to agree with. Simple questions that led to obvious yes answers. He would keep asking these questions, getting agreement after agreement, until suddenly his opponents found themselves agreeing with conclusions they would have fought against just minutes earlier. This became known as the Socrates method, and it's still taught in law schools and universities today. because it's so effective. So how do you use this in your own life? It's actually simpler than you think. Before you make your request or present your argument, find 2 to 3 things the other person will obviously agree with. Start there. Build that momentum of agreement. Master this technique, and I guarantee you will be amazed at the results. Try it this week, whether it is with your boss, your partner, or a client, or even your kids. Find something you agree on first. Get those yeses flowing, then make your request. And here's what I want you to do. Come back and tell me in the comments below how it worked for you. I'm really curious to hear your stories. And if you found this useful, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, remember, the most powerful people aren't those who argue the loudest, but those who get others to agree with them willingly. And I will see you in the next one. Cheers.